Anybody let me know my webcam messed up. Ain't nobody let me know. Okay, that's better. That's better, baby. Let's get right into the video. This is Spider-Man 4 Daredevil Kingpin new big bad teaser Echo post credit breakdown. I just finished watching the whole Echo series. I already know what's coming. I think Kingpin gonna run for mayor, and then it's gonna the whole comic book storyline is gonna kick in. I'm gonna tell you everything, bro. Watch the animated Spider-Man, the whole show, and you'll learn about everything that happens going forward in the MCU. Everything. It's like everything will lead up. You'll know what happened. You'll know the you won't know how it's gonna happen, but you'll know the whole story behind it. I watched the whole show. I just finished like about a
Light.
month ago.
With no
I
heavy
finished
perfumes or
watching the whole
dyes,
show,
it's a
and
long-lasting
then
scent that
I
everyone
think
can
about
enjoy.
2 weeks ago I
Even
finished
him.
watching
Get a light scent that lasts with no heavy perfumes or dyes.
the Ultimate Spider-Man. Now I'm working
You
on
want to be great? You need to sacrifice.
X-Men, the anime.
Sam Spade.
What a tough guy you once were.
On Disney Plus.
This really is the end of the world.
This is crazy.
It's crazy. I think my Disney Plus.
So a lot of people don't realize just how big the post-credit scene for Echo is. Now, we won't really dive too much into spoilers for the Echo series if you have not seen every episode yet, so don't worry, we're going to do a review about it later, but I did want to tackle the post-credit scene in this video, and it's really setting up quite a bit of different shows and movies coming up in the MCU, but specifically, it is really setting up Kingpin to be the new Thanos of the street level of the MCU. In yesterday's video, we talked about how Marvel Studios is really branching off into different areas, different sides of the MCU. We have the street level Avengers team, we're going to have the Supernatural team, the Cosmic team, X-Men, Fantastic Four, etc. And it's really cool because they're each going to have their own big bads of those sections of the MCU, and Kingpin is the big bad of the street side of the MCU. Or what Kevin Feige refers to as the more grounded side of the MCU. And since we've seen Kingpin enter the MCU in Hawkeye and now in Echo, he has been the head of his own crime organization. In fact, the first thing that he says in the post-credit scene is, "I want a meeting with all the remaining heads." And what he's speaking of is the people who really work for him, the heads of different parts of his organization. Also, you have to keep in mind, if you have not heard, the Daredevil Netflix series is now canon to the MCU, meaning everything that took place, everything that happened in the Daredevil series with Daredevil and with Kingpin, that is all now a part of the MCU, and you should treat that like it actually was released on Disney Plus by Marvel Studios in the MCU, because that is essentially what it is now. In fact, Disney Plus has even put all of the Defender Netflix series on Disney Plus, and actually if you go in and you look in the different sections and you look at the timeline order, you can see that Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and others have actually been added to the MCU timeline. Daredevil, followed by Jessica Jones right after, has been added right after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and I Am Groot. It goes Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I Am Groot, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, then Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the Defenders. Then if you go all the way down to Spider-Man Homecoming, you can see that the Punisher sits between Spider-Man Homecoming and Doctor Strange. So make no mistake, these Marvel Netflix shows that we had are now a part of the MCU. So all of the events that took place in these shows take place in the MCU. So Kingpin is a huge crime boss, of course. But now in this post-credit scene, he's about to take it even a step further. And this ties right into the events of not only Daredevil Born Again, but also the new Spider-Man coming out with Tom Holland, Spider-Man 4. Kingpin is going to run for mayor of New York City. But real quick, let's talk about what he refers to as the situation spiraling out of control. He needs to meet with the other heads before it gets out of his control. Basically, what he is speaking of is his crime organization essentially falling apart since the events of Echo. This is why he needs to meet with the other heads, to make sure his whole entire organization isn't going to fall to the ground and he is left with nothing, which is also why when he sees the TV about the mayoral election, it's very appealing to him. He looks at a TV on his private plane and it says, NYC race for mayor, no clear front runner. He has it on mute, but it catches his attention. Then he turns up the volume and we hear the host say, describe their ideal candidate. Speaking of people talking about who their ideal candidate would be, it turns out most people would want somebody who is a fighter, which works against the career politicians, meaning it works against pretty much the people who are currently running for mayor of New York, including the current mayor of New York City, which of course catches Kingpin's attention because that's who he is. He's a fighter. He's scrappy. I mean, the dude got shot in the face and he's still alive. And that is most certainly something that he is going to use in his mayoral campaign. I'm sure he's going to say the crime in the city is so bad, he got shot in the face, but he survived and now.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Scale it with a commerce platform made for entrepreneurs.
Now he wants to clean it up. I'm sure that's going to be a big push for him, a big selling point for him to become the mayor of New York City. Plus, not to mention in this, we have seen, especially in that first episode, just how much of an influence Kingpin has on the people of New York, including the police. We saw him in the beginning basically go up to Maya, who was being arrested, was being held down by two cops. He just walks up, he takes her, puts her in his car. The police just stand back and watch, and they're basically like, yeah, that's Kingpin. Do what he says. Don't get in his way. If he wants that girl, let him take her. One cop even tells another cop, do you have any idea who that is? Basically, Kingpin with his heads and the rest of his organization are already running New York City. But now Kingpin has the idea to actually run New York City as the mayor of New York City. The host continued to say that the people want somebody who understands the pain that they're going through. And they say a bare knuckle brawler would do good in this race. And again, the wheels are turning in Kingpin's head. He's going, that is me, someone who is not afraid to take on the establishment. And one of the hosts says, but wouldn't that person would have already come out by now? Wouldn't they have already announced that they are running for mayor? And they ask that if a candidate like this even exist, and that if he does, it's not too late in the process. There's still time for a candidate to come out and run for mayor. Then Kingpin leans forward, staring into the TV, thinking about what he just heard. And this is the moment he decides he is going to run for mayor of New York City. He is going to rule New York City by the book and also not by the book with his crime organization. And like I said, this is going to play deeply into Daredevil Born Again and Spider-Man 4, specifically because in Daredevil Born Again, Kingpin will become mayor. Now, based off of what we've heard from some insiders, Kingpin is seemingly going to give it a shot at trying to become legitimate. Like he's going to legitimately try to be a good mayor and clean up the city and kind of try to abide by some ethics. He's basically going to give it a real shot. And this might be due to some of the trauma that he has been forced to relive throughout the Echo series. Again, no spoilers really, but even in the trailer, they showed us the past of Kingpin and how he still does have some trauma based off of what has happened to him when he was a boy. So perhaps this trauma that he's been dealing with is going to cause him to try to be a legitimate mayor of New York City and try to do some good. However, we've also heard that it doesn't really last. We don't know why. Maybe he just turns. We know he's not going to be the only villain of Daredevil Born Again, but one big thing that we heard is he is going to make a law against being a vigilante, which obviously affects Matt Murdock and Daredevil on the two different levels. Matt Murdock as a lawyer, because he'll probably have to represent some vigilantes. And of course, it affects him as Daredevil, a vigilante himself. This is also where we get into Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man is in New York and Kingpin is going to be the mayor. A crime boss is going to be the mayor of New York City. This definitely affects Spider-Man since one, he is a vigilante and Kingpin is going to make that illegal. And two, of course, Kingpin is a classic Spider-Man villain. We are finally diving into a true Sinister Six era of Spider-Man in the MCU. In fact, I'm sure some of the other heads that he has as a part of his organization could be members of the Sinister Six. We could have Chameleon, we could have Scorpion. I'm sure they're saving those, of course, for either Daredevil or Spider-Man. But ultimately, I'm sure fans would just love if the Sinister Six consisted of people like Norman Osborn, Venom, of course, eventually, Dr. Octopus, and then we kind of have Vulture in the MCU right now. Still not sure what they were doing in Morbius and with Sony and all of that. Hopefully we get some clarification about that pretty soon. Plus, not to mention, after Avengers Secret Wars, there's said to be a soft reboot of the MCU. So that's their opportunity to kind of do essentially whatever they want. Say everything kind of exists in this universe now. All of these characters, and also multiverse travel is possible now. Hopefully it's an opportunity for Marvel Studios to kind of clean everything up, especially when it's concerning Spider-Man, because that Sony Spider-Verse mix right now is rather confusing as far as as who exists in which universe and if they are allowed to cross over between the Sony Spider-Verse and the MCU Spider-Man movies. But the main point here is we are building up to Kingpin to be a big bad of the street level side of the MCU. In fact, Marvel Studios has already confirmed this. Executive Brad Winderbaum, when asked if Kingpin was the next Thanos of the street level side of the MCU, he told the interviewer, "You hit the nail on the head," confirming that is indeed what they are doing. So not only are we building up for Kingpin to be a major player in Daredevil and Spider-Man, but ultimately there is going to be a street level Avengers film that is going to have Kingpin as the villain. And basically all the characters that have been interconnected through Kingpin are going to come together to take or try to take him down. This is going to be Daredevil, Spider-Man, probably She-Hulk. The Punisher is supposed to appear in the Daredevil series as well. There's even been rumors about Jessica Jones showing up. We essentially could have the Defenders with some of the Avengers going up against Kingpin in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which would be absolutely awesome. And that is what this Echo post-credit scene is starting, the rise and reign of Kingpin in the MCU. And his reign will probably exist for a while, probably past Avengers Secret Wars. We know Spider-Man 4 is now scheduled to come out before Avengers 5. Originally, it was supposed to come out between Avengers The Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars, but with everything with Jonathan Majors happening, they had to move Spider-Man 4 up, or I should say they had to move Avengers 5 back. So expect Kingpin to appear in Daredevil, expect him to appear in Spider-Man 4, but really expect him to just be a very prominent figure in the MCU on the street side moving forward. And that's really what this post-credit scene sets up, the start of Kingpin becoming mayor and the start of a lot of problems for our superheroes and vigilantes out there. So let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the Echo series. I will be putting out a review later, so be on the lookout for that. But let me know what you thought about Echo. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on the MCU. And if you subscribe and leave a comment, you are automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox Series X, a PS5, some Marvel Legends items, and some DC items as well. The winner picks one item and we pick.
Alright, thank y'all for watching. I found what his name was. Alistair Smite. I wonder if he gonna be in there. It'd be cool if he was. I wonder if they give him the wheelchair thing that he had in the animated series. But thank y'all for watching.